Welcome back into Clay and Buck. We are joined by the Speaker of the House. Speaker Mike Johnson is with us right now. Mr. Speaker, appreciate you making the time.
Hey, great to be with you guys. Good to hear your voices.
So we know you're at the border. We talked about that top of the hour. We do want to get into that issue with you and see what the latest is from your perspective. But first, talk to us here about this spending deal. What's really going on, and why are you taking the positions that you are right now in terms of the, whether you're agreeing, disagreeing with Democrats? Walk us through the spending deal as it stands right now.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a lot of misinformation and confusion about this, guys. What we've done here is we're trying to work towards the 12 separate appropriations bills. That's the way Congress is supposed to work. That's how we restore fiscal sanity to Washington, and we engage in good stewardship on behalf of taxpayers, right? We have a $34 trillion federal debt. I mean, it's an incredible landmark and a dangerous one. So we are negotiating, trying to work towards a top-line spending agreement that is the first cut to non-VA, non-defense spending in many years. It significantly cuts out a lot of the side agreements that were negotiated last year for the spending bills. About $16 billion in real new spending cuts. We take $10 billion out of that IRS slush fund and about $6.1 billion from the Biden administration's COVID era funds. The real important point here is that having an agreement allows our Republican conservative appropriators to go in the room and fight against the Nancy Pelosi era policy riders that remain in effect, because we're operating under a continuing resolution and we've got to get the new budget done. So that's what this is about. It's not the best deal that any of us as conservatives would draft on our own. But here's what everybody has to remember. Republicans only have the majority in one house of Congress, and it's about to become the smallest majority in U.S. history. I mean, after January 22nd, we'll be down to a one-vote margin. I mean, literally, there's only been one Congress in 1917 during World War I that had a smaller majority than we'll have, smaller margin. So we want to advance our conservative priorities and principles every moment of every day as far as we can. But right now, guys, to give a football metaphor, which you both are conversant in, I'm an LSU guy, so that's how I speak, right? Listen, I want to throw a Hail Mary pass on every play. But right now, it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And we've got to advance the ball up the field incrementally, and that's what we're trying to do.
You're an LSU guy, by the way. I got to build on this then. How excited were you when you saw Nick Saban was retiring?
I was hoping you would tee that up for me. Congratulations to him. Undeniable that he's probably one of, if not the greatest coach, certainly in the college game of all time. But at LSU, we have no love lost for Alabama and what he's done. So, it's a bittersweet day for college football. How about that?
That's a good answer. I think you should have said that Brian Kelly is now going to smoke Alabama and the Crimson Tide are finished as an elite football program. That's what I was telling my...
That goes without saying, my friend. That goes without saying, yeah.
That's what I was telling my 7th grader, by the way, who has ended up an Alabama fan because they've been so dominant. And it's a real failure of parenting that I've allowed that to happen. We're talking to Speaker Mike Johnson. Okay, so for people out there who are listening to us right now and they are not that familiar with you, how are you different than the speaker that you replaced? What is going to be different for Republican voters out there that they should know about you compared to the man you replaced?
Well, listen, I'm not going to in any way disparage Kevin McCarthy, who's a great guy and a patriot, did the best job he could under tough circumstances all the time. But, my background is different. I was a constitutional law litigator. I was a literally frontline conservative, movement conservative my whole life. And that's the background I bring into this. The lens by which I see things is as a constitutional conservative. I mean, I believe in the founding principles of the country, and we're trying to advance them here every day. Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity. These are the things that built the country. These are my fixed points on the horizon, and they guide what we do. So what you're going to see over the long term is a real emphasis on that to get us back to what made America great in the first place. I feel like we've deviated from it too far. Now, acknowledging right now we're going through a valley. This is what I want everybody to know and be encouraged by. We are going to emerge on the other side of this. Right now, we have the smallest majority in U.S. history very soon here, with one majority in one house of Congress. We only have control of one-third of the federal government, but it's all going to change because, guys, I am very bullish on the upcoming election cycle. I am convinced that we're going to expand the conservative Republican majority in the House. We're going to win back the Senate, and I think we're going to win back the White House as well. And so everybody in this country is going to be in a much better place a year from now But we've got to get through this valley, and we've got to demonstrate that we can govern well. And I think
Speaker Johnson, can I, we're speaking to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, right now, and Speaker Johnson, to that end, let's fast forward a little bit and hope and pray, but let's fast forward to where we have a really good election at the end of this year. And let's say you get a Republican president. I can let anybody else fill in the blank here of who they think that would be, but a Republican president, House and Senate. What do you think the Republican House caucus is willing to do on the immigration issue, really? I mean, we just had Stephen Miller on. He's talking about Trump promising massive deportations. He says he 100% believes him. What is the Republican Party in the House willing to do to deal with our out-of-control border? I know you were just down there.
We were. Listen, I talk to Stephen Miller about it all the time, and all of our friends here, we're absolutely committed. I believe it's the number one issue. I think it'll be a big issue for the election, maybe the biggest one, because it's the most immediate crisis and catastrophe that we have to face. Last week, we took 64 House Republicans down to the border to Eagle Pass, to the epicenter, to see it all with our own two eyes. Many of us have been to the border multiple times before, but it's never been as bad as it is right now, guys. 302,000 people crossed illegally in December. That's just the ones we can count, the ones we had encounters with. We don't know how many gotaways have come through, how many people on the terrorism watch list, at least 300 that we know. I think the actual number is close to 15 million. So the point is, we can't really wait until next year to begin to address all this. It has to happen now. And you're going to see us draw the line and stand on that line and fight right now to get that border secured. We passed H.R. 2, our signature legislation, 8 months ago, the Secure the Border Act. It would do everything we need to do. Fix the broken parole system, the asylum reform. I mean, reinstitute the Trump era remain in Mexico policy, end catch and release, finish the wall. All that's in there. Every House Republican voted for that. We lobbed it over to the Senate. It's been collecting dust on Chuck Schumer's desk for 8 months. We're going to push this. We're going to force it through, and we're going to get transformational policy change on that border one way or the other. We have to. We have to do it for the country.
You mentioned, and I know you got to leave, so this is the last question for you. You got to manage everything that's going on in the House right now. You mentioned the small majority you have, which is a tiny majority that you inherited. What happened with Kevin McCarthy was it only took 4 people to remove him. Are you concerned at all that you're going to have the same issue with 4 or 5 people and that they might vote to try to remove you in the same way that they did Kevin McCarthy? Or are you confident that's not going to happen itself, that prologue is not going to be a preview for what happens to you as well?
Yeah, I don't waste a moment of time being concerned about that. I'm working to govern. Look, everybody here is there's a lot of emotion right now. There's a lot of fervor and very thoughtful conversations, and that's what we're doing. I mean, the people that moved to vacate McCarthy, there's some of my close colleagues and friends, and so I bring everybody in and we talk through the issues. Remember, they know that I am myself a hardline conservative, and I bring that philosophy to the gavel. And what we're doing right now is we've got to advance that conservative philosophy under arguably the most challenging circumstances in the history of the institution. So we're not going to get everything we want every single day. It's incrementalism, and having everybody understand that and be a part of the advancing the ball is really important. Not to wear out the football metaphor, but everybody needs to know their place on the field, what their position is, and where they work in each play. And you can't tackle your own quarterback and expect you're going to win the game, right? So we talk about this tongue in cheek, but everybody knows the stakes are so high, guys. I think we're going to work together and get this done. And again, we're going to win that election cycle and be in a much better position next time around.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, come back again soon. Thanks for being on the program.
We'll do it, guys. Good to talk to you.